Okay, so the end of day 4 today of the biocybernaut training. It was an interesting one today because at the beginning when we were looking at the mood scales, talked about this previously. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then really, if you've even got a slightest bit of interest, you must download the book for free, The Art of Smart Thinking, from biocybernaut.com. But you go through the mood scales, there's a whole bunch of things that came up under the anger section again. Sarcastic, sullen, stubborn, agitated, irritated, angry, with 4 sigmas next to it, which is kind of like almost basically saying that I was saying that I wasn't angry at all, but the machine, the algorithm, etc. was picking something up there at a strong level. Deceived and spiteful. And because we were discussing the importance of when you're born to 7 years old and how oftentimes much of the personality can really be developed in, according to some researchers, literally within the first 3 years. 80% of your personality can be developed in those 3 years. If you've got things lingering around in there, emotions lingering around, again, they can be like the rocks that are holding your balloon back, your balloon being your alpha waves, preventing that from increasing. So as well as going in the chamber, listening to the sounds, controlling the sounds, and doing things to increase your alpha, through all the different channels, front, back, side, middle, etc. Doing the work to resolve these emotional states, or memories of these emotional states in your younger years, can be quite useful. Get them resolved, the alpha increases. The alpha increases, then obviously you get to take that through your entire life. And everybody knows how much fear and anxiety and everything else there is in the world right now. With higher alpha, it's virtually impossible to feel that, but you're going to be in a much better place. So meditators who meditate on a regular basis are going to be in a strong position. But again, this course, as advertised, 20 years of Zen meditation in 7 weeks, which again, some people think is too good to be true. But seeing the results on the charts and going through the experience, very intense experience, I'm pretty hopeful right now. So anyway, end of day 4, we only had 1 session in the chamber today. They kind of give you although it felt longer than a normal session. And yeah, I went through processing these different emotions, got down to anger, and then started working again using the skills that we've been taught on the course, working on releasing those emotions between that age of 0 to 7. I kind of got stuck between age 0 and 2, and I was literally working through things to do with parents, yeah, it's fascinating how light I felt at the end of the session. How it's hard to describe subjectively. In fact, you might be thinking, well, this just sounds like airy-fairy nonsense, and you might be right. What's great about this course is when you, at the very end of the day, when you start to look at the data on the screen, you start to look at the alpha waves on the charts, you start to look at the differences between all the occipitals, the frontals, and you start to see how they're all responding to your session. You can see these pulses of them going up, and then when you start working on something that's challenging, you can see the alpha comes right back down, and then the next chunk of time, boom, you see it go back up again and then it drop, and you start to see these patterns emerge, which is really fascinating. In fact, I said at the end of the session, this is probably one of the reasons why I love this so much in comparison to other personal training, because they put you in this chamber and they close the door and that's it. You're there to resolve stuff. It's up to you to get on with it and work whilst you're getting this alpha feedback noises in your brain as well from these speakers, which is all like it's quite unusual to say the least. So yeah, very interesting day. Worked on a whole bunch of stuff, and then funnily enough, on the subject of golf, once I'd been through, because it was a long session, once I'd been through each of these different mood scales, because that's how I decided to work. It's different to how the other guys decided to work, but that's how I decided to work. What I started to do, I started to work on my relationship with each of my golf clubs. Okay, now you might think that sounds weird, but everybody has said it. Oh yeah, now I'm fine with my 7-iron, but put a 4-iron in my hand and oh man, I can't hit it for love nor money. Those sorts of comments. So I started to go through specifically, starting off with my putter, to my driver, to my 3-wood, to my hybrid, to my 4-iron, to my 5-iron, 6-iron. Started to get a sense of what's my relationship with that club. You know, when I grab it, when I pull it out of the bag, what do I feel? And what was interesting is with my 3-wood, there was a lot of doubt. And, you know, like a lot of doubt. Should I hit this? Should I not hit? A lot of doubt. With my 4-iron, there was a lot of hesitation. And so, again, the processes that we learn in the course, I started to go through those processes in order to then allow it to be a situation where I can grab that club. I'm more freely producing more alpha waves. Now, whether or not that works or not, it's hard to tell right now because I can't test it because I'm in the middle of a 7-day training. But again, one of the motivations of doing this training, as well as all of the benefits advertised at biocybernaut.com, was to increase sports performance with regards to golf. Because as I've mentioned before, in moments and flashes of brilliance with sports professionals, researchers have shown there's pulses of alpha in the left hemisphere. So I thought, long session, done a load of emotional work, thought it'd be a good idea to start looking at my relationship to my golf equipment. Because remember, the equipment is just essentially going to be an extension of you, extension of your body, extension of your movement. And so I thought it might be good to resolve a few things there. So I did some resolution stuff with my 3-wood and my 4-iron. But I only managed to get to my 6-iron before the session had ended. And they never tell us how long the session is, but to me it felt like 2.5 hours in there, solid work. And what was interesting at the end, when he was looking at how my brain's processing, he says it never dropped off. It never dropped off at all. It was like, you know, the brain waves were matching together closely. He said left and right were communicating really well, both on the same